right, so we're going to talk more about emotions. Today, this is going to be like part two of the emotion cycles. And so the first parts, they're all about building awareness, as we talked about during like the ascension mindset. The first layer is all about awareness. There's no expectation to change. We're not like flipping the script or anything. Like this is all awareness. And so then we can move into our second stage, which is healing and doing stuff about it. And so as we build into these higher stages, that's how we're starting. Is the first step is all information based, simply to raise awareness without any expectation that we have to go off and become perfect tomorrow. It's a very tedious and it's a very long process to work through our emotional body and to build up these boundaries and these barriers and respect for ourselves and to take care of our emotional self. Our emotional energy is very, very sensitive. And so as we start to give that more credit and more like life and awareness and truth and feeling, then we ourselves are going to become stronger emotionally. In the beginning, we might have like fake emotional strength. We like pretend to be tough, you know, but as soon as like there's something that happens, like that depth only happens like to certain degrees. And usually it's by friction. We're not trying to be frictiously emotional. We're trying to be emotionally available and emotionally open. So that way we can cry when it's time to cry, and we can like be empathetic and sympathetic and supportive. And we can be like upset and like jealous and whatever emotions and stuff that are coming up for us, we can have those from a safe space. And so what's important is the first step is learning boundaries, so that way we can recognize what is safe and what's unsafe for us, what hurts us and violates our emotions, so we can start to take care of that even more. And then as we start to have a stronger sense of awareness for our emotions, we're going to build into listening to our emotions and understanding those with intelligence. So that way, when we have a feeling that comes up, we can see that and recognize it, even if it's just a slight feeling, even if there's not a name to the feeling. Maybe there's energy pressure. It's a feeling. A sensation is a feeling. We may not know the language attached to the feeling yet, but it might be discomfort. It might be uncertainty. It might be like fear, or like love, or a need for security or something. It's a feeling that is arising that oftentimes we ignore. And it can be as simple as like a very subtle sensation. And so as we start to explore more within the emotional section, the first step is having healthy emotional boundaries and recognizing what's safe for me. And then the second step is moving into an awareness of, okay, this is safe. Let's explore this a little bit more. What's going on here? Why am I going through these sensations? What is this sensation telling me? This starts to tell us about what we are feeling, describes what our environment is feeling as well, and the symptoms that are going on in our house, our space, or with other, when we're sharing space with other. And so to have that internal awareness of what sensations am I going through, what emotions are coming up for me, and to work on them as they come up. Hurt feelings come from a place of hurt. So when there is hurt feelings or hurt energy coming up, there's healing that needs to be done there. It's not just a recognizing, oh, I have hurt feelings here. That's the first step. And we're building into that healing stage. It doesn't mean let them go. It means we're going to do something about this. Maybe we're going to go home and we're going to talk about it. Maybe we share it to the public around us. Maybe we analyze it more ourselves and like process it on our drive home. Whatever and however like we grow into developing through our emotional self, what's important is to bring this energy up as it comes up with intelligence. Hey, you know, I'm feeling really unheard. Is there something that's going on that like you don't feel heard about? Because being heard goes two ways. When you're picking up their energy, you're going to own it like yourself. Own this energy and voice it. Hey, I'm feeling unheard. Are you feeling unheard? Maybe we're both missing each other and we're on the wrong track. We got to stop and fix this. And you might recognize that you're often emanating the same emotions and the same feelings that your partner is emanating. That gives you a place to start with. Oh, okay, we're not aligning. We're not making sense. Your feelings are hurt. You're upset at like my language. There's like, I'm hurt by your language. So our language is out of tune with how we are as a character, and it's causing us to emotionally be sensitive, which our feelings get hurt. That translates into we're now hurtful, or we respond with defensive energy or some kind of form of safeguarding our own energy because we're feeling hurt and we need to be protected from that. And so just recognizing that and saying, look, you know, having hurt feelings coming up. And what happened was last time there was an incident that was revolved around this. You and I, maybe we shared in it together, or maybe somebody else, it was revolved around somebody else. But being able to share that those feelings are coming up, and that gasses it out so that way the feelings can be released. If we compress it and we hold it in, we don't do anything about it, we don't feel it, we don't share it, we just completely hold it in, and we start to be like secrecy with our feelings, and we're silent, we're not sharing our feelings. And then that can even transition into being judging over self for having these feelings. I shouldn't be so emotional, I shouldn't be so like reactive, I shouldn't have like these types of like issues that other people have to deal with, or whatever types of judgments like that can come off of. That's not okay. It's never okay to judge our feelings because we have real feelings. Our feelings come from a place of validity and authenticity, and often from a past experience of trauma. And that is real. That needs to be taken care of and nurtured so we can move on from it. And so it doesn't make we're weak, or like we should be judging ourselves for having these emotions or holding on to this trauma or whatever. It means that this energy is still inside of us, and we're here to work on processing it out. That's actually the symbolization of strength, because we're adding our emotional intelligence to the field and saying, look, see me, I'm vulnerable. Do you see how vulnerable this makes me feel? This hurts my feelings. This doesn't make me feel loved, taken care of. I don't have security in my environment right now, so I don't feel safe, which is causing me to be defensive. I'm not trying to like be off key with everybody. I don't feel safe with everybody, like in accusations. You're able to use your vulnerability and voice that to your environment, so your environment can start to work better and say, look, we're not trying to attack you. How can we restructure this? How can we rework this so that way it seems more fair, and we're not all just like looking at you and coming at you, but we're all sharing in our voice together. Or maybe I can learn to watch my language better so I don't use words that are make you feel the need to be defensive or protective over your space. That's something that I can very much work on. Knowing what you're going through gives me the opportunity to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to help myself, and I'm here to help others. I'm here to help my planet. I'm here to help. And when I know that what I'm doing to you and when I'm working, like the way I present myself isn't helpful, but I know what is helpful, at least I know what to do. And then I have something to work towards. And then it can come back around. It happens again. You know, you just did the same thing. Again, you promised you want to do it. I even told you what I needed. I told you this was the action. You just did it. Oftentimes, we're going to make the same mistake several times in a row. That's just human nature. We make mistakes. Does not mean that we should stop helping. We need to nurture the people in the areas that they need to learn, and they're learning the slowest. That's okay, because we all learn at our own rates. But that just means we need to stop. We need to put more intention into the lessons that we're learning, so that way next time it comes up, we can have our own back, and we can say, hey, look, I have a lesson that's coming up. Last time I did this. This time I want to do this. Let me work on making better cognitive choices so that way I can do a better job. And then the receiving end. Hey, last time you hurt my feelings. Didn't make me feel good. Didn't make me feel like you're on my side. I was opening up and venting myself, and you were like unsupportive and judging. Did not work for me. And so what that does is it sets up open communication, so that way both parties can be prepared and ready to go and work together. So then as we grow and one person stumbles, we can pick them up. And then the other person might stumble, we can pick them up. And we just share back and forth. And together we have each other's back the whole time. Instead of judging, instead of coming off with hurt emotions, my feelings are hurt. I don't like that. This doesn't feel good. And so like, we can start to come off very attackative when our feelings are hurt and we don't like that. And then that can often be like, well, you blame every time you do this, you do that. You don't reach the standards that you're talking about. You can't. We're blaming and we're putting this out on others instead of saying, you know what, I can do better. There is room for me to improve. And what I can do is always improve myself. And if that means me doing better and you not growing, then that means I'm going to outgrow you. And me outgrowing you is just fine because that's part of me learning and me growing and me being on my path. Me challenging you to grow and being here and supporting you and helping you grow is like me being on your path and helping others, but we're not responsible for others because if you don't want to do the work, if you don't want to take the advice, if you don't want to change, if you are so strong-headed that it's going to be your way, then you can beat your head through the wall and like do it that way, but I'm going to outgrow that. And so I'm not going to be able to hang out with you while you like continue to like replay this lesson. You're going to have to find somebody else who's coming up, who's on point with this same lesson, who's willing to hold the space for you to learn that. And that's okay on both sides. It's okay on both sides to recognize when we're outgrowing people and to still help them and say, hey, look, I'm outgrowing you. I really need you to work on this. I really need you to pick this up because I can't stay here much longer. It's actually bringing me down to be in a space with you where it's actually hurtful to me. And so I need you to work together with me so that way I don't have to come in here and give all my energy to you, give all my help to you for you to just like topple the dominoes again tomorrow. I need you to keep these dominoes up. We're putting a lot of effort and a lot of emphasis into your growth and your character and be proud of that. And I need you to put the same in return. Because if you're not getting the energy you're putting in, you're losing yourself in the process. That energy is better suited on self-character, self-growth, self-development, internal self, external self, emotional self, like mental self. That energy is better suited in here where you are growing and you are working on yourself and you are healing and you are on that path. Than externally where somebody is just going to siphon it all out and then you guys are both going to continue to be dead batteries. So with emotions, the second stage is that intelligence. This is what I'm feeling. The first stage is having safety and security so we can come out to the second stage and say, hey, look, this is what I'm feeling. And open yourself up to being vulnerable will cause the intelligence to be higher. Now there is going to be security back here. We're stepping through this security outside of that, maybe outside of our comfort window a little bit in order to say, hey, look, this is me, I'm vulnerable. That's okay. What that does is it creates your security. You have this out here. Now you're getting more comfortable with having your security out here. This increases your intelligence. It increases your courage and confidence, your awareness, increases like your emotional connection, it increases your connection with others. All of this because you're taking a little bit of risk, stepping outside of your safe zone in order to say, this is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling unheard. I need, stepping out of this and saying, you know what, I really need you to just be like compassionate. I need you to just come over. I need you to spend time with me. I really just need love or I just need a hug. Being able to open up those vulnerabilities and be able to ask for our needs without shame or feeling judged or anything like that. And that creates a stronger exterior security. So now your security is like this all the time and you're able to walk around, you're able to ask for needs being met. You're able to like point out emotions that you're having and feel those fluidly. You're able to cry when it's like you feel like crying and without judgment over yourself or concern over like how others perceive you or whatever. And so this is the second layer of emotional intelligence that we're working towards is being safe, having safety within our emotions, and then coming through and saying, look, this is what I'm feeling. This is the hurt that I've gone through. This is the trauma. These are the memories. This is the experiences that have come up. These are the things that are like going on inside of me. to the best of my ability and intelligence. I have other sensations I can't really label yet. So as I work through those, then I'll work on bringing those out too. And that recognizes growth where I have to learn still. I recognize there's still hurt trauma. There's still other depth in here. And at the same time, there's a point of intelligence. This is how much I've learned, and this is where I'm learning. So when I learn more of this, I'll continue to let this out, continue to vent, continue to share. I'll continue to be open. These lessons are going to be helpful for me when I run across others who carry the same lessons and burdens, and we can work together on transmuting similar karmas. And so like, it's going to be so effective long-term in our healer self when we do start to work on others, because we've built up such a strong ability to be secure within ourselves and our emotions, and to have intelligence about the emotions that we're going through to a very sensitive degree. So then we can start to say like, look, you know, I really feel like you shame yourself over this topic. And I just want to let you know there's no shame. We do not allow shame. Shame is absolute kryptonite for our bodies and for our systems. Shame is not welcome in this place or in this domain. There's nobody here who's going to shame you for having feelings, for having these experiences. They're very real, and they were real to you, and they were very clearly very hurtful to you. And that's very important to us, that we recognize that this pain is real and that these feelings need heard without any form of judgment or shame. And we welcome the fact that you're opening up and sharing to that, because that takes a lot of confidence, takes a lot of courage, takes a lot of ego strength. And this stuff can be really hard for us to build up, and takes a lot of like trust and safety and security and stuff. So when people are sharing these vulnerabilities, we're seeing their strength pushing through these insecurities, pushing through this fear of judgment, this fear of like how other people will like perceive us or judge us. And so we always want to share gratitude on the receiving end and be as like supportive as we can on the receiving end, and reassuring, and then help bring love and understanding to like the best of our ability, and just be that receiving character and support character, and be like, oh my God, you know, that's horrible. That feels so bad. Like, I'm surprised that like you're where you're at right now. Like that would like cripple many people. Like it's very understandable if you would have given up on life over some certain situations and circumstances that have been like you've been exposed to. The fact that you're still here and carrying all of this is just like amazing, and continuing on is amazing. You know, bringing all this reinforcement energy, because it's heavy. Our packs are heavy, our loads are heavy, our karma's heavy, like stuff, our life experiences have been heavy. We have a lot that we've been dragging through, and it's heavy. It's hard to get off of this, especially when we feel like we can't share. We don't feel safe with our environment. We don't feel secure within our emotional self. And so the second step is building up that sense of security enough so we can have intelligence and express that. And the third step is expression. The second step is the awareness that we have these feelings or greater sensations. And then the third step, now we have confidence to share. But it's first security. We need to have internal security and boundaries so we can say, look, I got to stop talking about this. It's causing deeper triggers and it's getting beyond my tolerance window. So I really appreciate you listening and holding space. I just need a break from the conversation. Maybe we come back to it again in the future when I reground or reach a state of regulation. So you can recognize when your system has reached a tolerance level before you break yourself. And now you're hurt, you're reactive, you're going into like deep stress cycles where you're like maybe resorting to drinking or drugs or some kind of form of like detachment abuse. It could even be screens, video games, TV, movies, phones, like everything that we do in order to like zone out of reality, or coping mechanisms in order to like detach from like issues. And so it's important that before we get into these reactive states that we like recognize where our tolerance window is, and that keeps us in a realm of safety. So we can continue to feel safe, be vulnerable, and then go back to a point of safety and remind ourselves that we're safe and be safe, not be vulnerable and then be hurt. That's too much. Then that's going to create an unsafe environment. It's going to be harder for us to break through that again because we had a negative experience, and the negative experience is going to create more blockages. energy blockages for us to continue to release that in the future. So make sure we take baby steps, infant steps, share a little bit at a time, test the waters out, check for safety. Hey, I want to talk about this, but if it becomes too much, I'd also want to have the ability to be able to be all done talking about it without an expectation of, we need to solve this now, we need to get through this now. Like, we're not finished with this conversation until I say, or whatever. Being able to voice, like, I want to share, but I also want to have safety and the ability to be all done with the conversation, or all done with my words, or like whatever you need in order to feel like you can share openly and safe. And those are always rules within my boundaries. Anytime anybody feels unsafe to any degree, just noting that, and everything stops, everything goes full stop. It's all about focus, aftercare, taking care of the individual. Hey, it's okay, you're safe now. Thanks for opening up. That was like so strong of you. Completely shifting the energy into maybe like some stretching or yoga, bilateral movements, some other form of activity in order to take their energy where it's at and shift it into something else. And then this is going to cause that stress that's piling up in the system to have an outlet. If that's something else, maybe we like to do puzzles or Sudoku, challenge our brains in different ways. Maybe we can do that, and that'll actually get our mind off of the stress and onto something that's productive, that feeds our mind, that challenges our mind, that encourages our mental growth as well. And so that's about it with the second video of emotions. As we build up into having a very strong emotional character, it's going to be a progress. Our emotions are either very open or very closed. And if they're very closed, it's hard to open because we have a lot of fear and a lot of shame and a lot of judgment, mostly on ourselves, but also validated by our environment. If we're really open, then we don't have balance. We're just very emotionally reactive and responsive. We wear emotions on our sleeves. And even if that hurts others, we can't help that. That's just byproduct of being so emotionally open. We want to bring it back into the middle a little bit, where we can have more openness and more like intelligence or reserved energy with our emotions, and recognize, is this going to be hurtful to the people around me? Or is this a healing thing for me? Or is this something that I'm feeling? We can bring it back into the middle to have more intelligence, more understanding, and more cognitive release of the emotion, which is ultimately the most important part, is to experience and feel the emotion. We're given emotions because they add so much depth to reality. We need to enhance this emotional intelligence so high that we're thrilled on thrill rides. We're like overjoyed with fun and joyness. Like, we are so scared when it comes to fear because we're so tuned into our emotions, like it actually takes our breath away. When you're tuned out of emotions, everything's so logical. That doesn't make sense. Why would you hide there? That's stupid. He's right behind you. Don't open the door. You're like so logical and detached. When you're like over emotionally reactive, you're just like, ooh, eek, wow. Like, wow. I guess that's one of my scare things. You're so emotionally reactive that every jump jumps, every startles. The fact that you see him behind you is like behind the person. You're like, oh my gosh, he's behind you. Watch out. Be careful. You know, and so we're going to get very different reactions, and we're trying to bring that into the middle to have that like full intelligent reaction where we're like, oh my gosh, this is very thrilling and very scary and very like invigorating. This is like really intense of an experience that my system's going through, because we're relaxed, we're open to it, we're like allowing this expression to come through and still have this level of intelligence. So we're not just so like terrified and have night terrors over. We can recognize it's a film, we can recognize it's picture movie or like TV or fiction or whatever. And then we can also have the experience of it. Just like when we ride a roller coaster, we don't want to be like, well, the first drop's the biggest drop, and then it's just going to be twisties and turnies, and like you can like logic it out that it's like boring in the ride. Or you can like have your hands up, you can be like screaming, you can make it thrilling at the same time. And so as we tune into these finer emotions, that's going to be the depth of our reality that we're going to notice. Is we're going to have stronger emotions that come out into our reality and play upon the experience around us, and primarily emotions of love, joy, inspiration, wonder, gratitude. These big emotions, when you walk into a room, people are going to like feel joyous just being around you because your energy is just so strong and you radiate your emotions so vividly that you're always in a happy space. And that happy space brings other people into that happy space, because when you share space with others, they're in your space. And now they're happy because they're in your happy space. And you're bringing that love, joy, inspiration, wonder, gratitude, like every positive emotion and every negative emotion is within our experience to have. And you bring that and you share that. And so we're building up and transmuting all of these negative emotions in order to have more abundant positive emotions. And this is going to become our normal reality. Everybody around us is going to emanate love. So the love in the air is going to be magnified. Everybody else around us is going to be joyous. So joy is going to be magnified. Inspiration is going to be magnified. You get a creative think tank together and it's like, boom, boom, boom. Amazing ideas are coming through because it's magnified. Everybody's in this creative space. Gratitude, everybody's practicing it. These positive energies are going to become our normality, and it's going to feel good to be giving those to others as well as receiving that by others. And you walk into a space and they make you feel happy. They make you feel more joyous and you're excited to go there and you're filled up with joy and excitement to be there. And then now you're giddy and you're there and you have that giddy joy energy and other people are bringing that and they're excited, and that magnifies and that plays out into a bigger role that it affects people who aren't even inside the room. The people walking around in front of the shop, the people driving down the roads, the people living in the apartments next door or the rooms next door, people walking around in the shopping center or just nearby. Your field expands out greater when they're magnified and impacts people who are just walking out and they hear laughter on the inside. Then they just start getting a little chuckle. They're like, oh, must be a good time. They're literally getting that happy, joyous energy, and then they become happy and joyous and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't help it. It must be so great. I kind of want to peek in the window and see what's going on, because you hear all of that and you're feeling all that energy, and now that becomes a part of you. So this is it for the end of the second video for emotions. Again, right now we're still working on this awareness concept of what does this look like as we build them in, and then we'll start working on some more of the action concept of picking out some emotions, understanding them deeper, transmuting some of these like real painful experiences, and getting into some more of the intensive work. All right. Well, I'll see you again next week. Thank you for supporting the Guardians.